Diving right into the build, if you had the question of why did I make Patrick Star into a fishing lure, and why out of all the versions and personalities of Patrick did I pick this look, it's a really easy answer. This is the iconic Goofy Goober Patrick Star. The fishnets, the heels, the Goofy Goober dance that lives rent-free in pop culture history. I mean, people have dressed up like this for Halloween, gone to Comic-Cons, made all sorts of knickknacks, and even gone as far as tattooing Patrick permanently onto their body. Now, Patrick is this dumb, overweight starfish. I mean, the dude literally lives under a rock because the fictional society of Bikini Bottom collectively agreed it was safer for the rest of them. He's oblivious to the current events taking place, the human equivalent of a brain fart in a fishnet bodysuit. Built like a melting marshmallow, and somehow dumber than he looks, which is saying a lot. His character is the kind of guy who thinks breathing is a skill, and still manages to mess it up by asking if mayonnaise was an instrument.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
But here's the thing, you can't help but respect him. He's stupid, stylish, and somehow still stealing the spotlight with main character energy without having a single thought. Patrick's not just under the sea, he's underachieving in every possible way and absolutely thriving. And honestly, that sounds kind of peaceful because adulting, you know? So I figured, what if I turned Patrick into a topwater lure, give him the actions of a frog swimming, and see what'll eat him? Figuring out the mechanics of this thing took me a minute. There's 1,000 ways to go about it. Should I make rubber legs, tag a friend to help me 3D print some parts, overcomplicating it, or just stick to what I'm best at and make it all out of wood, keeping Patrick Starr's mentality, keep it simple, keep it stupid? I ended up thinking like Patrick in the end. I knew he needed a weighted belly and legs to give him the right look on the surface. He needs to look like a frog. His rear should dip into the water while his head rides a little higher. Hook placement, though, that's kind of going to be weird. Running them off the legs makes the most sense for hookups, but I'm not sure if that'll kill the action. And I'm not even sure if his simple wooden joints could even handle the stress of a fighting fish. Painting was the easy part. Just a few primary colors mixed and brushed on, and before I knew it, Patrick was really starting to look like Patrick Star, the goofy goober we all know and love. Some finishing touches, a coat of epoxy to protect the paint and give him a shiny star-like finish, and it was finally time to put this bait together. As for the action, how his legs worked, once I got the lure together and started seeing how his legs articulated, I kind of didn't want to give that up. I think physics would take over and the legs would naturally do their thing and look pretty cool, but I had an idea and I wanted to try and follow through with it. I use these plastic cookie clamshells a lot. I make duck reeds out of them for my duck calls, and I also find all sorts of other random uses. In this case, though, it's going to be my spring. My thought is water pushes the legs closed when you pop or jerk Patrick Star, and because of the weight in the heels, it'll help close it. I don't really know. I didn't pay much attention in physics class.
All right, let's test it out.
After tossing Patrick a couple of times, I came to the conclusion that his legs did not have enough heel weight to make my ideal work. Like I said, I wasn't an ace at physics. I also questioned whether or not the hook placement would be optimal for hookup, so I tried a couple of different designs, but finally ended up doing this stainless steel, 124-pound steel wire that acts as a spring, moved 2 hooks, guided through some holes I drilled into Colorado blades that I attached to his feet, and lo and behold, I achieved the action I was looking for. A starfish that mimicked a frog on top of the surface, and I was happy with the results. A few test casts, and I immediately attracted the attention of a small alligator. These little residential ponds are loaded with wildlife, and these small alligators use a sewer system to navigate below the roads. And every day, I swear, we have a new alligator of different size that shows up.
Go on.
Luckily, this one was just a tiny one, but Patrick's glamorous Goofy Goober attraction was just too much for him, and he could not leave this thing alone. And after a few casts, I had to move on. I still wanted to play with the action of this lure. I was excited Patrick functioned the way I had envisioned him to, so I moved to a small pond across the street from our house that I swear no life exists in due to the constant spraying of weed killers and trash that flowed into it, not to mention the lack of water. I can literally cast across the distance at this pond times 3.
No way. You gotta be kidding me. Yes. No. Oh no, he broke Patrick.
What kind of place is this?
Oh, that was a nice bass too. Okay, well, shoot. I got a little fixing to do here. Son of a gun. I was not expecting a topwater bass blow up like that. This is just a little crappy pond, size of a swimming pool. That was awesome. I'm gonna fix this Patrick Star lure.
After hooking into that bass, Patrick's hips blew out like cheap lawn chairs, so I was off to the hardware store for a little emergency surgery. I picked up some nylon washers, glued in a set of sturdy dowels, and just like that, Patrick had himself a full hip replacement. And not even a couple hours later, he was back in the action, ready to return to his regularly scheduled program, Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, right there.
After running out of residential ponds in my own neighborhood, I called a buddy and asked if I could fish his lake. He said yes, so I commandeered his vessel and started blind casting Patrick at every piece of structure that looked like it might be holding a fish.
There we go. Nice. Heck yeah. And I got a hit. And as I was trying to reach for my phone to turn it on, it broke the dang steel later.
My lake adventure got cut short thanks to a minor loss of hardware. Not a full hip surgery this time, but as the sun dipped behind the trees and the sky began to fade, I gave one of the nearby residential ponds one last shot. Sure enough, Patrick still had some magic left in him. A small bass blew up on him at the surface. Nothing huge, but the perfect way to wrap up the day.
This thing's great.
But I wasn't done. While I'd caught a few bass the day before to keep it interesting, the one that broke Patrick still haunted me. So I prepared myself for however many days it took throwing this lure. After all, that first fish didn't just hit this lure, he tried to end it.
Dang it.
I kept casting, day after day after day, until I lost count of the days.
Anyone know how many days it's been? I lost track.
Pond after pond, I poured everything into fishing with this lure, chasing the big bass that slipped away. And yeah, I caught fish along the way.
That's another bass.
But somewhere, I also realized I wasn't just throwing Patrick anymore. I was delusional, overconfident, and absolutely losing my mind. I had made this lure my fishing personality. I'd obsessed so much on trying to find a big bass to eat this lure that I forgot why I started this video in the first place. It was just for fun. Turning the goofy goober starfish everyone knows and is obsessed with into a fishing lure, and then trying to catch a fish with it. I proved Patrick could swim like a frog and maintain that gooberish style he has.
That worked. We'll take it. That one's better.
So for one last hurrah, I teamed up with my dad and hit a local lake. I needed closure and maybe a miracle, and somehow I got just enough of both. One more bass, not the heavyweight I was chasing, but it was enough to call it a win. This lure took a beating, caught fish, and stole way too much of my free time. But man, it was worth it. If you had fun watching this mess unfold, hit like and subscribe and stick around. I've got a few more wild ideas that I hope will work, and I've got no sense on when to quit.